Okay, so today we're going to go through finding the hottest sellers with Invelo. So I'm going to actually go right into Invelo and show you exactly how to do that. So let's get started here. Just to give you a background, for those who don't know who I am, my name is Justin Silverio. I am the founder and CEO of Invelo. I started investing back in 2010, so it's been quite a while now. It's crazy how long it's been. So I got started actually flipping houses, and then about 2 years later, then I started wholesaling. And then when I found out I could wholesale and make a ton of money with little time, I started to wholesale a lot more and only flip really profitable deals. And through my journey, I started with entry-level homes, then went to mid-level, then high-end new construction, and then I moved into the city of Boston to do condo conversions. So I really took some stepping stones and making more profit on the deals that I was doing. I got all of my deals through direct mail, and I got a really good strategy, and I did a lot of testing. So in 2016, a lot of people were asking me and following a blog that I had, and I was explaining how I was getting all my deals, and people were like, "Can you do my direct mail for me?" So in 2016, I started open letter marketing, and currently we work with thousands of investors throughout the country, helping them strategize and fulfill direct mail campaigns. And then again, in 2020, it was probably 2019, 2020, I saw another big void in the market where myself and many investors, I mean, even today, people are using multiple platforms to do, just to span their whole sales cycle or acquisition cycle. So I knew there was an opportunity that I could simplify real estate investor lives by combining all the different pieces and platforms people were using and put it into one area so that now they can get a full visibility in everything that is happening in their business. Something personal about me is like I love traveling with my family. We just got back from 2 weeks in Costa Rica. So that was a blast. We got back last week, so I'm all nice and refreshed. All right, let's jump into the webinar outline. We're not going to do too much here. We're mostly going to be in Invelo, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So again, please ask any questions that you have in the chat, and I will be monitoring that. We already talked about that. All right, so let's talk about why a lot of investors are wasting money on marketing. Investors in general are getting better, right? They're getting a little bit more sophisticated on how they market to people. But in the global sense, even newer investors, they're not sure really how to create, like, who to market to. So a lot of times what we see is that people will pull a list and then just start marketing to them, those prospects. And I think that is, you can get much more, you can do things in a different way. So for instance, when people are pulling a list of just say, absentee owners, a lot of other people are marketing to those people. And you could have a lot of absentee owners in your area. So even though they're absentee, doesn't mean that they're really motivated to sell. But if you start to stack lists or identify different types of motivation and stack them on top of each other, then you can really find kind of the needle in the haystack of people that are really motivated to sell. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that within Invelo and how easy it is. So once you start pulling all of these lists within Invelo, and I'll even talk about how to pull lists outside of Invelo, you start pulling all the data into Invelo, and that drops into your prospects database. So now you have all of this data, and you might have thousands and thousands of records. And even if you're starting out, you don't want to spend, or you can't spend that much money if you have 10, 15,000 records. But that's okay, because the goal is you're not marketing or doing something to all 15,000 records. You really want to find the top quality, motivated sellers within that. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And we have preset filters, and I'm even going to create some filters on the fly with you to show you exactly how you can do that. And you can segment your record, so you're really spending your money and your time with the right people that are more motivated to sell. So I think I'm going to just really jump into Invelo right now. All right. So, okay, let's go through Invelo, and I'll show you exactly how to do this. So you can adjust how you do things in your kind of investment strategy, but I'm going to go through and show you some examples of how I would do things, and I'm actually going to really just pull them right from the list builder. I'm also going to show you the new AI Driving for Dollars feature that just launched on Tuesday. So this is something that we're really excited about, so I'm definitely going to hit on that one. So the first thing that I'm going to do is obviously start with geography. Okay. So what I typically recommend if you're just starting out, whether it's you're just starting out investing or you've been investing and you're starting out with direct to seller marketing, I always recommend that you're starting in an area with about 125,000 to about 200,000 people in population. Okay. That's generally a good enough size to roughly pull about anywhere from 10 to 15,000 records. And from there, the goal is to really sift down to about 2,500 really high quality records. Okay. So again, those numbers, just so if you guys want to write them down, start with a geography of about 125 to about 200,000 people in population. From there, after we start pulling all these lists, you should have about 15,000, 10 to 15,000 records. And from there, we're going to go into Invelo, and now we're going to start to use the filters and really pluck out those really motivated sellers. And you should have about 2,500 records. Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump in. Again, no questions yet. I'm just checking the chat. But feel free to actually, somebody just message something in the chat. I just want to make sure I'm on the right page here. While you're doing that, I'm going to get set up. Okay, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to start with my first area, actually. No. See somebody raising their hand. Mark, you have a question? If you have a question, if you feel free to throw it into the chat. Or I can just allow you to talk.
Hey, just letting you know the chat's disabled.
The chat is disabled. Okay. Eva, I know you're on. Can you enable the chat? Okay, in the meantime, if you guys have questions too, I can add you to speak. I guess raise your hand. There you go, Isaiah. Let me see. Okay. Is it? Go ahead, Isaac. Did you have a question, Isaac? You're muted, I think. No?
Justin, what's up, man? Quick question. Is this going to be recorded, this webinar?
Yes.
In order for me to, it will be?
Yep.
All right, that's great. All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Good. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's already being recorded. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to go through, let me see, disable talking, and I'm going to enter in some areas. So I'm going to do Tewksbury. I'm going to do that one and Wilmington. Mass. Okay. All right, I'm just going to do 3 areas right now. Maybe I'll do another one. Actually, 3 areas should be fine. Okay, so this is, I mean, honestly, this is how easy it is. What I would always generally start with, if you're an investor that you're going after single family homes and or single family homes and small multifamily properties, we have most of the preset lists that you should be using. Okay, and I'm going to go through them right now. So you can see if you go under filters and then you click on the Invelo presets, here are all the presets that we have for you. And I'm going to talk, after I do these, I'm going to talk about some like even secret lists depending on what you're doing for like niche areas. So I'm going to select absentee owners. So you can see when I selected absentee owners, the living area is from 850 to 3,200 square feet. Single family residential, multifamily 2 to 4. Year built 1900 to 2000. Years of ownership 6 plus. Owner occupied no, since it's a absentee owner. And owner type is individuals. We're only looking at individuals. Now you can change this at any time. So you can go in if you want year built, if you don't want 1900. It's pretty common in my area that properties are built in the early 1900s. So you can easily just change this to like 1920 if you want. But from my area, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to apply this. And then over on the right-hand side, you can see 756 properties meet this criteria. Okay. I am going to put in one other town. Woburn. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to import. And when you import, you'll notice down here, select lists, we're automatically adding a list name of absentee owners because we know you use a preset. So that's really important to know, as we've already identified that you're importing the list. This right here, auto add, this is something that I always recommend that people use. So if you wanted to use auto add and you did absentee owners, then anytime a new record, we update our database every single day. So if a new record meets the criteria that you just entered, it's automatically going to get imported into your prospects database. So, the benefit of doing that is really you pull this list once and you never have to pull it again because new records will automatically be flowing into your database. Okay, so I'm going to just say import records. So that's the first list. High equity. Going to go to the next one. Everything looks good. So we have estimated equity percentage of 50 to 100%. Everything else is pretty much the same. We have about 9,300. This is always one of the biggest lists. So 9,355. And this list to me, so you'll see like high equity list. If you actually come into your settings, just for those that don't know, and you come into lists, you'll notice that we have these preset lists within the database when you signed up. And we're giving you recommendations of quality of the list because not every list is created equal. For instance, as I was just about to mention, equity doesn't really give you a motivating reason. Like the person doesn't have motivation to sell, they just have a lot of equity in their home, right? They paid down their loan and now they have a lot of equity. So that's generally a low quality list. I personally don't market to people that are just high equity. They would have to be high equity and maybe an absentee owner. Okay, so you can see if you want to just go into data attributes under settings, you want to go to data attributes and you can look at the lists that we already have as presets, and you can go through and you can look at the different list quality. So obviously absentee owners, that's a medium quality. AI driving for dollars, that's definitely going to be a high quality. Auctions is high quality. Empty nesters, right? Somebody that's owned the house for a long period of time. Maybe their kids have moved away, their house is too big for them, and now they want to downsize. That's still a low quality list. So you can go through and you can see all the different options that we have here. So that was something important to share with you. So let's go back to this. For the sake of just doing this webinar, I'm not going to add auto add for all these other ones, but I'm going to import this. Interfamily transfers, sometimes some areas this will work for, some areas it won't. The difference, intrafamily transfers and related party are very, very similar. Interfamily transfers are specifically identifying the deed type that it was transferred within the family. Okay, so in Massachusetts, we do quitclaim deeds for pretty much everything, for many, many different things. So other areas actually do specific deeds depending on the sale type. So I know that if I click on interfamily, you're not gonna see any properties. But if I go down and I go to related party, you will see we have 44. This is not going to be a large list, but this is probably one of the best lists, honestly, that you can pull. These are people, again, that sell to someone else within their family, generally for estate planning purposes. So you can see the last sale date is under $20,000. There's nothing selling for $100,000 in my area. So for them to have a sale price of under $20,000, that's really telling you that it's a related party transaction. And we're making sure that we're pulling records that are after 2010. We don't want to go back any further than that, because if we pulled a record from 1980, it could have sold for $20,000 and it might have been a reasonable sale. So we want to make sure we remove those. Everything else is the same, so I'm going to just import all of these. All right, and then we're going to go down to pre-foreclosures. Again, it's any foreclosure status. Going to import all of these, and you can see it's so easy to pull all these different types of lists in Invelo. It's only going to take me a few minutes to pull everything. So we did related party, small houses. So small houses, I would say, if you're an investor that you want to do some value add renovations, small houses is a great one. So when I was looking to purchase a smaller house and add, a few bedrooms to it or more square footage, this is actually a great list, because you can see here, for all the other lists, we're generally looking at 850 square feet to about 2,800 square feet, because that's the general range across the country of where most buyers are looking for. That's what they want to buy. But if you start to look at properties that have under 850 square feet, this is opportunities where you could potentially buy, a one bedroom or a two bedroom, and you can add an addition and add multiple bedrooms to now bring the square footage up so it's within the range of where people want to buy. So this is a great one to just identify value add. All right, so just make sure it's good. I'm going to select all of these. Import. Tired landlords we can do. So again, you can see tired landlords, multifamily 5+, 2 to 4. Like if I didn't want 5+, I'm going to remove that. 10 years of ownership. This is individual and corporate owned. So that's something unique on this one, is corporate owned, non-owner occupied. So I'm actually going to import this one. Select all, import. Trust-owned properties. So trust-owned properties are those, again, where it's more estate planning purposes. Now, the trick is you can see assessed total value. You want to make sure that this works in your area. So for instance, I have $0 to $500,000. If you're in an area where high-end homes are selling for $400,000, you want to reduce this amount, because you do not want to get those houses that are really large, where it's wealthy people that are putting their properties into trusts. Okay, you do not want that. You want to identify those people that are putting into trust for estate planning purposes. So maybe they're getting older, and they want to make sure that they have that transferred, and it doesn't go into probate when they pass away. So if you want to change that valuation, I might bring this down to, even for myself, 400,000. Apply. So there's 35 properties. Select all, import. Okay, unknown equity. Again, this is a really good one, because there's many times where we don't know if somebody purchased a property a long time ago, and we don't have mortgage information. And when I say we, the county doesn't have the mortgage information. It doesn't go back that far. It's not digitized, anything like that. We're not going to know how much equity they have in their property. So there are going to be many times when they don't show up on your high equity list, just because we don't know what the equity, we can't do that calculation. So this is a good list to pull, is just estimated equity. You can see it's unknown. And there's quite a bit of properties here that have unknown equity. There's about 5,500 records. Okay, I'm gonna select all these, import. Vacant properties, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. This is a great one. Select all. There's 69 vacant properties here. And then lastly, zombie properties. So again, these are properties that are vacant and in some sort of pre-foreclosure status. So select all of these. You can see right here where there's a check mark. It already has, there's an orange check mark here. It says you already have this property in your database. That's okay, because I still want to import this, because when I do that, it's going to actually attach this list name to it. Okay, so that's something just to note is when I get into the prospects database, the more lists that I have on a property, the higher the quality it's going to be. So I can show you how that will work. So I'm just going to import these. Okay, so those are, you know, your main lists here. Now, secondarily, so you can see we pulled, I mean, how many lists? We pulled maybe 10, 12 lists. And I mean, if I wasn't talking through everything, it probably would have taken 5 or 10 minutes. The other thing that you want to note is indicators. So let me just explain what indicators are. Indicators in lists might seem very similar. So if I click down here, you're going to see absentee, auctions, empty nesters, you know, all very similar to lists. However, this right here, these lists are based on the data at the point in time of when you're pulling, okay? So when you pull this information, you're bringing in a list of absentee owned, okay? Versus when you pull over here, this information, these indicators are updated every single day, okay? So if these are basically like live lists, okay? So if I pulled an absentee owner today, it might change tomorrow because some people could go, they're no longer absentee, some new ones could be absentee. So they're a little bit different. So, and I'm going to show you in the property record of how to identify that. So I've basically pulled all of my lists. There's a couple other ones that I do want to show you before I go into the prospects database. And I'm going to explain indicators a little bit more so you get more clarification when we go into the record view. But for those that are maybe doing, like, let's say zoning plays. So this is where you can get like really, can be pretty exciting and niche, is if you want to do like zoning plays. So let me just go into a town that I know and I know the zoning for. So I'm going to go into Andover, Mass. And I'm going to remove all filters and I'm going to say zoning is SRC. Okay. So there are three, generally there's three in this town. There's SRA, SRB, and SRC. And based on the zoning code, I know that SRC, or I'll just go to SRA. Okay, the minimum lot requirements for SRA is 10,000 square feet for the lot. So if you are somebody that wants to purchase a property and potentially you're also doing new construction or building, a great way to do that is say, okay, I want to know what properties are in SRA. So there's about 2,900. And if I know that the conforming lot size is 10,000 square feet, I want to see properties that are over 20,000 square feet. Okay, I'm going to apply that. There's 637, okay? But let me just go a little bit deeper on this. I want to see living area maybe of under 1,000 square feet, and maybe ownership of more than 10 years. Let's see if there's any here. Okay, so there's two properties. And then I'm going to change this to single family. That will get it down to one. Now, you're going to see there's not a lot of records, and this is one specific town, and this is one zoning of one town, but I just want to give you an example of why this is valuable. So you can see here on the map, you can see this map, and this is kind of a cool one because you can see that the house is off to the right side of the property line, right? It's actually right on the property line, which is interesting that they must have been grandfathered in because there's setback laws. But anyways, if I click on this, see how small this house is? There's an opportunity. A lot of people value their homes more than land, okay? Because a lot of people don't understand the value of the land that they have. So this is a perfect example of where I would go after. So this is absentee owned too. It's a tired landlord, unknown equity. So last sale 40,000 in 1978. Okay, so they've owned this for a long period of time. It's a relatively, inexpensive. See, the assessed land value improved total value is $500,000. So what I'm looking at this property is it's off to the right. You have potential to subdivide because even if you split this in half, you're going to have a conforming lot on this property, and you would have a conforming lot on the left side of the property. Now, this doesn't take into account, the length of frontage that you need to have and anything like that. But you can generally see if you cut this lot in half, you almost have the same frontage as this one over here. So this does look like a double lot. And because there's other properties around it that have likely right around the same frontage that you would be putting on here, because if you did split it, you have a pretty good case of being able to subdivide this. So this gives you a great opportunity to offer this person, even if you offer them $600,000, the estimated value is 672. You're buying this property, you subdivide it, you can likely sell this property probably right around 672 for the house, and they still have a large lot here, and now you have a free lot that you can build new on. So this is like something that's really great to utilize within the platform that I don't think many people know about, but this is something that I love doing this stuff because you can really find some great opportunities. Any questions on that? Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, no questions. All right, the last one I'm going to get into is, one second. Hold on, there is Q&A. Oh, look at that. We got some Q&A. Will this be recorded? Yes, it will. Quick question there was on your list. Your corporate owned homes, are they going to be useful for adding it to our list? Corporate owned, I would generally only do for tired landlords. I usually don't market to corporate owned elsewhere. And corporate owned is okay because corporate owned, if you're looking at 5 or plus, it really depends on your investment strategy. So if you don't want to deal with large companies, you're just looking for single family or multifamily, corporate owned is okay. And the reason why I say that is because, myself as an investor, and probably you guys as an investor, you're buying your properties in LLCs. You might not be huge organizations, but you're still buying it in an LLC. So whether or not somebody, so you still might want to go after those because they're not large companies. If they've owned it for a long period of time, I'm sure you've bought properties from other investors in the past. I know I absolutely have. So these are good opportunities. If you did 5 or more and you don't want to deal with large corporations, I might remove corporate owned. Okay, so that's a really good question that you asked. All right, are you able to pull pre-foreclosures, tax delinquent, and probate on list builder? Pre-foreclosures, yes. So I showed you pre-foreclosures, how you're able to do that. Right here, pre-foreclosures. Tax delinquent, you can. So in general, I don't like pulling tax delinquent anyways from any list builder. You can do it, and I'll show you how to do that. So you can go into here, and I think it is, sorry, it's under property. ownership, tax delinquent year. So you can pull, so let me just do that, and let me put my towns back in here. Mass. Woburn, Tewksbury, there. Okay, so there's actually quite a few. I'm not going to go that far back, and I'll explain why I don't particularly like pulling it from here. I'm going to go to 2020, 9,000. That's still just too many. Apply. 4485. I'm going to change this and go to single family. I'm going to add in length of ownership of 6 or more years. Individual owner. Okay, so now we're getting down to 2,000 records. So this is probably right around a okay list. Let me click on go into one of these. Let me just go into this and take a look at it. So we can see that tax delinquent year is 2024. The reason why I don't like this is because no list builder provides you with the amount that they owe. And that's actually really important because I could mark it. I could be like, oh my God, this is 2,000 amazing records. But really, if you actually looked at the tax lien list directly from the county, and at the end, I'm going to tell you the next webinar that we're doing, I'm going to be going through how to actually pull tax delinquent from your county records. So this is probably going to be one of the best ways that you can pull tax lien list, code violation list, fire damage lists. This is going to be really a really great webinar because I'm going to show you the proper way to do it. So just going back here, if you actually pulled this list right here, that's 2,000, you could be like, this is a really great list. They all owe money on taxes, right? Well, that is true. They could owe maybe $2 or $5. They could have transposed a digit on their check or whatever they write out, and they would be on the tax lien list. So you do not want to, and so there's no reason, there's no like motivation reason that they would have to sell. Other reasons, you saw me remove corporate, but many times corporate or individuals that have many properties, they'll only pay twice a year. They won't pay quarterly. So you don't want to add those in. The other reason, they could owe maybe even $1,000, right? They could be late on their first quarter, but maybe there's no sign of motivation because it's in your location. If a property doesn't pay after 3 years, then there's a tax taking. So I generally really like to look at the properties that owe a lot of money and they're delinquent at more than 2 years. They're really up against the wall. They owe a lot of money and they only have a short period of time before they have to sell and before they get their house taken. So I'm going to go through in our next webinar and show you exactly how to pull it. And I'm actually going to request some tax delinquent information beforehand to literally just go through it and show you exactly how I would do it. So just going, this is a long answer to the question, but it's something that I want to make sure people understand because data is so important. You might think 2,000 records, this is amazing. I'm going to go after these. I'm going to spend a ton of money on them. You could be very well wasting your money. And this is one of the things that I mentioned before where a lot of people waste money because they don't understand data properly. Okay. I think that's everything for people's questions. All right, the last thing that I want to show you is the newest feature, AI driving for dollars. This is pretty legit, everyone. This is really cool. So let me go in. I have my towns, and I'm just going to click on AI driving for dollars. So right here, you can see minimum distress score. So minimum distress score, we rank it from 0 to 100. Okay, 100 being the most distressed and 0 being not distressed at all. So we defaulted at 70. We feel like 70 is a really good range to start at to finding properties. But you can bring it down to 50% or 60. If you want to open that up and be a little bit more lenient with how distressed it is, and even if you want to take a look and say, pull them for 70 or higher, and then look at the ones that are at 70. If you're like, oh, that's really distressed, you can come back in here and then lower it. So you're opening yourselves up to more properties. So let's just go in here. I go back to 70%. I've already pulled the list for Driving for Dollars. I've actually clicked the button. So we don't have to do that, but you can see there's 43,000 records in my 4 towns that I selected. Okay, there's 43,000 properties. We charge you up front on the 43,000. It's 3 cents a record. So if you were to do all of them, it's going to be $1,319. But let's say you're like, dude, that's a lot. I don't want to scan all of those. The great thing about our Driving for Dollars is you can you can narrow this list down by filters. Okay, so so you could go in here and say, okay, I want to only scan the people where it's absentee owners. Okay, now you just reduced your list from 44,000 to 4,500. So now you're only paying $137 for this list. And now you are only doing a subset of those absentee owned people. What you can also do is you can honestly just pick one of these filters or say, okay, absentee owned and 6 or more years. Okay, so you can really narrow it down and you can be wise on where you're scanning the properties. So this is one of the things that I'm most excited about, is not just the Driving for Dollars, but being able to like really whittle down and hone in on properties that are maybe layered on top of others. You'll notice the property types that is grayed out or disabled. So we scan right now, we scan all single family, multifamily, 2 to 4 multifamily, condos and mobile homes. Okay, so we do that. That's just included. Okay, so just going back to the cost, we charge to scan all the properties, but then there are properties where there's no Google Street View. In the Street View, it might be obstructed by a tree or a car or something like that, and we can't see the property. We will refund you for that. And then there's other times when we've identified the property is actually currently under construction. Okay, we are able to identify that, or the address couldn't be found. There was some sort of issue. So those are the reasons that we actually refund your credit card after we analyze. We'll give you the refund, and I'll show you how to find that. But what we do is we actually scan the Google Street View and we identify reasons of distress. So that could be bad roofs, that could be siding, that could be windows, driveways, long grass. There's many different reasons that we identify that goes into the analysis. So all that we have to do from here is just click on Purchase List and Import. Again, as I mentioned, I've already done this. Actually, I didn't do it for Woburn. Okay, and I want to, did I put anything in here? Yeah, 6 years of ownership. So I want to do 6 years of ownership. I think that's something that you should always make sure that you put in here. And the reason why is because we just want to make sure that, sometimes the Google Street View was taken in like 2022, 2021, and we want to make sure that it hasn't been sold since that Street View was taken. Okay, so 6 years is pretty good. I'm going to remove this because I want everything in the area. And let me see, there's 89. So I'm just going to increase this a little bit more. Let me change this here. Of course, I don't have enough funds in my wallet, so it's kind of bad that I'm, all right, now we can go back down. We have enough funds. I'm going to import. We're good to go. All right. You can go into more imports history, and this is where you can see all of your imports and what's happening. So you can see all the imports that I've created are already completed. This last one is processing. While this is processing, I'm just going to show you in your wallet for those that are like, hey, how do I find out where I get refunded? If you go into billing and plan, you go into manage wallet and then transactions. I'm going to show you right here. So here's an example right here where I did driving for dollars, and it charged me up front of $515. And the same thing, the one I just ran, it charged me $214. But then after it did the analysis, it refunded me $194. So what's that net? It's like $300. So I spent $300 in total, not the $515. Okay, that's just something I wanted to show everyone. All right, it's completed. So let's see. We have 26, so 66 properties that came in. So you're going to see failed 7,000. You're like, wow, all those failed. They didn't necessarily fail. Most of them likely failed because they did not meet your criteria. Okay, that's 70%. And actually, let me see if I can go into my Gmail account to show you the, there we go. So records refunded. You can see this is the email that I get so this is how many were analyzed. Records were imported, records that did not meet the distress score, and then records refunded, 1,000. Okay, so this tells you everything that you need to know. And right here, it tells you why they were refunded. All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna go back into here. Let me X out of these so I don't get confused. Okay, now we've imported all of our records. Again, I did not import anything from county records. That's the other place I would do and bring it into Invelo and import it. We're gonna go through that on the next webinar, exactly how to do that. But for right now, I'm gonna move forward with this. So I have 16,800 total records. I do not wanna mail to all of this or market to all of these people. So let's find out and figure out how to identify the best quality records, okay? So we're gonna come over here, and if you go to all prospects and then filters, you're gonna see Invelo presets. And I don't know if you've already looked through these, but these are already preset filters that we've created for you, because we know that these are a great way to filter and sort your list. So you can go through all these and peruse through them. But I'm gonna select hottest prospects, okay? And if I click on the edit button, it's gonna show you exactly what this is, okay? So you're gonna see we are using indicators, okay? So let me just go back and go into indicate. Let me just go into one of these just to show you indicators. So you can see on the left-hand side right here that the list that this property is in is AI driving for dollars. Okay, so we pulled this through the list builder with AI driving for dollars. However, you can see the indicators, right? Unknown equity, tired landlord, absentee owner. Okay, they're not on the list. They are identified though as an indicator. And you might say, well, we did pull absentee owner, tired landlord, unknown equity. Why aren't they on there? Likely because they did not meet the filter criteria that we selected. Okay. We are just identifying, is this person absent? Is the person absentee? We don't care about like, okay, they've owned the property for 6 or more years. It's between 850 and 2,500 square feet, any of that. Okay, we're just identifying whether or not they're absentee owned, if they're a tired landlord and have unknown equity. Okay, so that's the difference between the lists and the indicators. And also these indicators, if they moved into the house and that this absentee owner indicator would get removed. So that's why I'm saying that indicators are live. They can, an indicator could be added onto a record and be taken off with the record without you doing anything. But they will never be removed from the list here that you pulled unless you manually remove them. Okay, so hopefully that is clear. Let me know if you guys have any questions on that. Just either raise your hand or put in the Q&A. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go back here. So we are going to do indicator count of greater than 2. Okay, so they have more than 2. Somebody have a question? Okay, sorry, I'm just looking through the questions. Sorry. Is there accuracy in it? Okay, I'll answer accuracy of skip tracing after this. All right, so we have indicator count is greater than 2. Indicator is, any one of these. So these are like your high and medium quality lists. And indicators, we do have indicators, MLS active, recently sold, and pending. And we don't want any of those on here. And then the property record, lost is no. So again, with Invelo, you can mark a record as lost. If, say, somebody called in and was like, never contact me again, you mark them as lost. And we do that so you don't market to them anymore, okay? Other reasons they can come into lost automatically is if the property sells without you having to do anything, the system knows that the house sold and will automatically mark them as lost, mark it as a reason as sold, right? And then if you are marketing to this person in campaigns, they automatically get kicked off of your marketing campaign. So you're not wasting money, okay? So there's a lot of things that the system does on your behalf, so you're not wasting time, energy, and money. And this, honestly, depending on how much marketing you're doing, this could save you thousands of dollars throughout the year, just this one little feature of us automatically removing sold properties off your marketing campaigns. All right, so I'm gonna go back into here. And let me just work on this filter a little bit more, okay? So everything looks good to me here. And I'm also gonna add a group and say, okay, I love driving for dollars. So if any record meets this criteria here, or if they were just analyzed, right? If the we analyze the property and we've identified the property to be distressed, I want to know about those people as well. We can also add a condition up here and say list quality is any of medium and high. Okay. So we have about 1,700 records. So let me just explain this again. So we're looking at any record that meets our driving for dollars criteria, right? There's distress, or where the indicator, there's more than 2 indicators on the record. It's one of these indicators here. It's not one of these indicators, and they're not lost records. And this is where the list quality is either medium or high. Again, when we were talking about list quality, if you were to have a high equity, remember high equity we said was a low quality list. If a record was on a high equity list and a driving for dollars list, which is high quality, that record would now have a high list quality status. Okay, so we always take the highest quality and attribute that for the record. So now you're going to see, I'm going to click on save. So we have 1,700 properties here that meet that criteria. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to save this as, for me, this would be my direct mail list. And I'm going to save it under marketing. Okay, so now if I go here, filters, we have a marketing folder, direct mail. Okay, so if I remove this, from 16,000 properties, we are honing in on the top 1,700 properties. These are the absolute best. And this is where you should take some energy, whether it's time or money, however you do marketing. These are the top ones that you should be focused on. Okay, so if I click on one of these, let's just take a look. Okay, so this was part of AI driving for dollars, right? It was in the driving for dollars list. The distress score is 67. It was analyzed. See right here, October 2017. Usually, I mean, that's pretty old for a Google Street View. That's probably the oldest that I've seen. But since October 2017, you can see the property. It does look pretty distressed here. So you can see that it looks quite distressed. And yeah, we also have the AI driving for dollar pull date. So that's a great one. And I like to just go through and identify and just make sure everything looks good. This one is also on driving for dollars. Looks somewhat distressed. 71 analyzed. Okay, this one looks like it's in maybe a company owns it, or a trust. This is owned by a trust. It's a duplex, analyzed. So that looks somewhat distressed. Absentee owner and tired landlord as well. So this gives you a good indication of, these are some pretty good quality records that you want to market to. So I have my direct mail list. What I can also do is I can select all, and then I want to edit these, and then I want to tag them. And I want to add a tag of direct mail. Whoops. Create, confirm. Okay, so I'm adding a tag of direct mail. And the reason I'm doing that is because I like to break up my records in my database. And if I know that these ones are the ones that I like to do direct mail, you don't have to send direct mail for everything, right? We're spending more money, more time, more energy on the highest quality records. And then the other ones, you can, if you want to cold call them, if you have a cold call company, you can now cold call the lower tier, okay? So if I come in here and I say, okay, show me all the properties where the tag is none of direct mail, and then apply this. Here we go. So I can select all, and now I can assign or edit this, add a tag, cold call. Create that, confirm, and then I'm even going to save this filter, cold call, and put this into my marketing. All right, so you'll notice what I just did. So I have filters now. So under marketing, I have all my direct mail and all my cold calling. Okay, so now I have them segmented. And now these filters are live, right? So as new records come into your database, because we mentioned to keep that auto add on, new records are going to come into your database and they're automatically going to flow into one of these two buckets. So from there, you can start doing your outreach. Okay, so this is the biggest thing that I wanted to show you that you do not need to market the same way to every record. That is not the right way to do it. You want to understand your data, sift through it, and really spend more money and time and energy on the best quality ones and less time and quality on the other ones. So instead of taking your marketing budget, and evenly spreading it throughout every single record, right? You're taking maybe 60% of your budget and spending it on maybe that 1,700 records, and then the other 40% is allocated to the 15,000 records. Okay, that's how you increase your ROI and get more sophisticated. And it's not difficult to do. You just saw me do that in an hour, but I was talking through it. I could have probably done it in 15 minutes. That's exactly how you really hone in before you even start marketing. Because now when you start marketing, you're going to have a much higher ROI and success rate because you've done this upfront work. And that's all there really is to it. Now you can go back and forth and you can hone in and play around with these filters even more. And you can say, okay, I want to see driving for dollar analyzed. Yes, I want my list is any of, I really want to see related party. I want to see foreclosure, vacants. Maybe those are the only three lists you're like, okay, I really want, it has to be on one of these lists and analyzed. So right there, there's 5 properties. Okay, so these are driving for dollar and at least related party, vacant, or pre-foreclosure, all really, really, really high quality lists. So these are on 2 high quality lists. So again, if I come down, I can see this, notice of foreclosure, and it's a 75 analyzed. So this is a great one. So you might want to really, like these are the top 5, maybe you just want to go after and do everything, right? Text them, direct mail, door knock. You could door knock them. So now this could be your door knocking list, okay? So these are a lot of little things that you can do that really don't take much time, but it is going to save you so much money and time, and it's going to lead to much higher success. So let me see if there was anything up. Yeah, are there any questions? Any questions on this? So let me go through it. We have a couple questions here. So somebody said, how is your skip tracing? Yeah, so skip tracing, you can absolutely do that. So you can either do that within a record, right? You can skip trace, and you can find, so you can find the most recent property owner, or you can skip trace the primary contact on the record. I'm going to get into this probably on another one and just talking about the database, because I mean, there is so much in here. There's so many features in here that we put in here that make life easier, but I'd like to explain on how exactly to use them, to utilize them in the best way. But you can skip trace to find a new owner, or you can skip trace the primary contact that you already have on the record. So you can do that in a one-off basis, or you can select all and click on skip trace and still have access to do both of those there as well. Skip tracing is very good. So just to give you a little understanding, this is like, I use this for, I look at, when I created Invelo and my team, I look at it from the lens of an investor. And we need to have the best of the best for the investor, because that's all that I want, and I'm sure that's all that you want. So when we looked at skip tracing companies, we actually analyzed, I think it was like 6 or 7 different skip tracing platforms, and many of them you probably already know or heard of or even used. And what we did is we skip traced all 6 or 7 different platforms, and then we skip traced using regulated data. So as a company, you don't have access to regulated data unless you go through proper screening. You can't just get access to it. So what we did, because regulated data is much more sensitive data, and that's for like law firms, attorneys, law enforcement, like they get access to the regulated data. So we pulled many records for regulated data and then pulled it from all these other 6 or 7 different vendors. And then we compared it, and we compared it on 2 different ways. We looked at hit rate and we looked at accuracy, okay? Hit rate, a lot of people think that that's important. It's really not that important, because what we found is the big vendors that everybody says this is a great vendor for skip tracing, we found that they had a really high hit rate, maybe 95%, but their accuracy was low, okay? So for me as an investor, I don't want the highest hit rate if that's going to dilute the quality. I'd rather a lower hit rate, but much better quality. So what we found is we have lower hit rate. Our system is going to have a lower hit rate than other systems, but the quality was substantially better, okay? And I know that I knew a lot of people were going to come in here and say, oh my God, your hit rate is like 80% or 85%. I'm going somewhere else. But it's hard to explain and educate people. It's not the hit rate we're going after, it's the quality. So just understand that there's 2 of those things, and that was a long explanation, but I just wanted to go through that. If I'm on the starter plan, are all of these filters available? Yes, I believe all the filters that we went through in here are available. Do the lists have names, phones, numbers? addresses of owners. So anytime we pull a record through the list builder, or if you import, so if you import just property addresses, we are going to identify all of this information about the property. Okay, you get all of this information, even if you're importing just a property address. So you get all the property details. You will get contact information. You'll get the name, you'll get the address of the person. Okay, you don't get phones or emails, but again, depending on what plan you're on, we do have free monthly skip traces that you can do. So you can skip trace any one of these. And if I skip trace, I think I would even see it here, right here, free skip trace, right? So for this, if I skip trace purchase, it's not going to charge me at all. And you can see how quickly it was. And I got a bunch of phone numbers, I got a bunch of emails, and I even got additional addresses here. Okay, so that's how easy it is to skip trace. You got it, Paul. You're welcome. Yep, starter plan. Yes, you have access to a lot of those. You have access to all the filters, I believe. There could have been something in the list builder that you don't have access to. I'm forgetting on the starter plan. But if you don't, just reach out to your customer success manager and they can help you out. There are also other good lists that aren't. Yes, yes, I agree. So somebody said there are also other good lists like divorce, probate, seniors, and deceased. Would those be possibly added in the future? Yes. So some of them we are looking at adding in to those. We're adding those in the future. We're looking at that. Some of them, again, like, yeah. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. But you can absolutely pull those in to the platform. Is there a good way of logging how many times a property has been mailed and what type of mail it got? Type of logging how many times it. Yeah. So great question. Actually, I'm going to show you guys something that you probably would never be able to see in our Jira. So we're working on this, let me see, it's this current sprint. So basically within the next 2 weeks, this is what we're looking to add in is for a marketing section. So on this left-hand side, there's now going to be a marketing section, and it's going to tell you the number of touches that you've, the number of times that you've marketed to this person, the last marketing date, direct mail touches, text message touches, email touches, and then for direct mail specifically, last mail date, last mailed status. We're adding in offers. So we're adding in the ability to do offers on direct mail. So you'll know the last offer value you gave them, the percentage of market value that you offered them. We even have last scan, QR scan code, scan date. So if right now you can do QR codes on direct mail pieces, so you will be able to filter or search for people that have actually scanned the QR codes, which is super cool. And you can see for text and email. So yes, that is coming. Great question. Newly skip traced info will be added to the top of phone numbers and lists. Yeah, great question. Really good question. And that is something very detailed. Anytime you add a new phone number here, it goes to the top. So if you have phone numbers here and you skip trace, or if you import anything, you're always going to have the newest phone number go to the top. And we do that. There is so much thought going back and forth with this. The reason we are doing that is because obviously if you're adding new phone numbers to the record, the ones that you have in there are not working, okay? And we even sort it where when you skip trace, the best number goes to the top, okay? So we give you, I think maybe up to 5 phone numbers. The best number will be at the top and the lowest number will be at the bottom. And you can see we have now details on if we have phone carrier information. So you can see Comcast, it was skip traced, the last updated and last seen. So last seen date of when they've used it, okay? Sorry, what's showing in the thumbnail. Okay, thank you, Armin. Connor, I have added labels for status and put those in a status updates for them. Example, first attempt, second attempt, and adding tags for what they got. Yep, Christina, you can do that. But again, when we get this new feature in here, we're going to be tracking it, and then you can just filter by it. So it'll be really nice and easy. Good question, Connor. Yep. Huh. When will there be predictive data? We're working on that. We're actually going through the process and analyzing all the top companies right now to see what we want to add in and how that's going to function. It's not challenging to do, but I need to do my due diligence and make sure that it's thorough, and everyone's going to be really blown away with it. So that is on my top list, and I actually have I have like 3 emails in my inbox right now that I'm working on. So good question, Christina. You like the new feature a lot. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Armin. All right. I think I've answered all the questions. So I know we went a little bit long, 10 minutes long, but again, this is so important when you start to go direct to seller or you want to get a little bit more sophisticated. It's not hard to do. It's not hard to do. I just showed you. Again, when you get good at it, 5 or 10, like 15 minutes it's going to take you to sort through this. And always go back through and just, fact check a couple of these just to make sure they look good. And you're going to be so much better off when you do your marketing, and your ROI is going to definitely increase. So again, the next webinar, if you guys don't know, I recommend that you check out, go to inveloapp.com and see right here, webinars. If you click on this, you're going to get all the upcoming webinars. Okay, so the next one we're doing is on 529, and this is where I'm going to go into how to pull lists from your county the proper way and why you're going to be so much more successful. While everybody else is using the list providers and marketing to many more than they should be, you're going to be really honing in on the best ones that are really motivated to sell because of tax liens or fire damage or anything like that. So that's on 529. And then I know in June we have marketing. That's when we're going to get into marketing campaigns, how to properly set one up and all of that. But I'm excited about these. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of it. If you have any questions, use our Invelo community. Well, you guys can use your in-app chat for questions, but please use in Facebook, use the Invelo community to ask any questions. I love answering them and creating quick videos if you guys have questions. So utilize that as well. But I think that's all for now. Last question. Are we able to update the information under the marketing section in the record you showed us, or can the data only come from Invelo? We'd like to include the number of direct mail attempts we record. Good question, Princess. You know what? I didn't think about that, but I'm actually going to put that in my notes. Make this editable. Thank you. That's a great one. Appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys ever have suggestions, there is a feature on the profile button. If you go down, it says like, what does it say? You click on your icon on the top right, report a bug or a suggestion. Use that. I look at it every single week, and I look at it with my developer, and I love suggestions, and we're always looking at them. So please add your comments. But I think that's it for now. That's it for the webinar. Thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I hope you got a lot out of it, and hopefully you'll join the next one on the 29th. All right, everyone. Have a great day.